Well, it's
Button is
showtime.
engaged.
Would you hit the go button, Jim?
The go button's been hit,
Sometime
son.
today.
Hurry up, Jim.
AKA
Jim, hurry up.
Randy.
The button has been engaged.
It's like playing cards with
Act
my
like
brotherless
it's
kids.
now my responsibility or something. Jeez, when Ape's not here, this whole show falls apart. He's the glue that holds us together. He's the bear hug. He's the warm feeling of love inside all of our hearts.
Feel kind of.
Can you tell I'm
now.
laying it on
I'm
thick?
Oh,
I wouldn't make that sound in that conversation, but that's just me.
that
This
would
is
be-
Noir, so we can be a little more suggestive. Welcome to Coffee and Ham Radio's Cafe Noir, where it's the dark side of ham radio. We're going to do some antenna modeling tonight, and we have brought in Locutus of Ham. Thank you, John, for showing up.
Yeah, no worries,
John
brother.
is our Menomina expert here, and only because none of us have ever bothered to even load the software on our laptops. So we're all in good company. And I'm not trying to diminish John's efforts. John is amazing.
Well, so my wife tells me.
Oh, that's a good comeback. I'm going to have to file that one away for later use.
right.
Yeah,
So
that
my
screen,
wife tells me.
that thumbnail you put up there got me all day. That song's been in my head.
Earworm.
Thank you. Earworm. Yeah.
Absolutely.
So really do appreciate that. Chuck, you got a mighty big pole back there. What are you playing with?
Oh, that's that mask I got from.
Is it carbon
I got
fiber?
it down in Arizona. It's from. What is it? What is the name of that again? It's the flagpole buddy mask.
Gotcha.
I put that in my.
That's
It was in
actually a
my
really
video
good
today.
mask.
Oh yeah,
I have held Chuck's mast in my hand, and it was firm. It was nice.
very firm.
Was it erect?
Really thick too.
No, not yet. I mean, we erected it together.
Excellent.
Well, I mean, like most of the
polish.
masks that you get, I don't want to steal this from Chuck too much, but most of the masks you get kind of like flex when you pull the antenna to the side, and this one is very rigid at the top. The top of this is like that, where your
It's
typical
big enough to have a
ham radio
half
masks
inch.
are fishing poles.
The
It's big enough to have a half-inch bolt go on top of it. So
Yeah.
it's a pretty cool mast. I did my Moxon on it today. One of my video.
All right.
Tell us more, Chuck.
Well, I was the only thing I didn't do is I thought I had put my my guy line plate on there, and I didn't. And once you put the whole thing together, screw it on there, and you have the whole antenna together, it's kind of hard to put it on then. But so I was a little afraid to put it in the air. Then I finally just tied some ropes off to the side of it, and check the video out if you haven't seen it. The thing was pretty. I got a guy in Chile and a guy in Pennsylvania.
He was a little cold.
Yes, he was a little chilly.
I
But,
watched the video.
yeah.
It looked pretty good.
That thing weighs a pound and a half or so. About a pound and was a pound and 7 ounces or something like that.
Yeah, just under a pound and a half.
So
But how many grams was it, Chuck, for our Canadian and overseas viewers?
I said it in the video also. So it was
Okay.
well, I was making it with tent poles originally, and the tent poles weighed more than the whole antenna after I got done with it, with what I built it with. And I won't tell you that part because now you have to watch it.
What's the deployed
It hit
size?
the target, though.
Or do I have to watch the video to find that out, too?
The size, it's 10 meter. So it's, let's see, 30, 60, 90, 120 inches across, roughly.
10 feet?
Yeah,
Okay.
something like that.
If you guys haven't joined the Toads Discord, which is linked to the top of the chat, there's going to be some really interesting things coming across on the Swap Meet channel. If they haven't already come across yet, they go to members first, so it might take a week or so before they get there. But it is free to join, and it is the friendliest place to be on the internet when it comes to ham radio because we don't have any rules.
Well, don't be
If
a
you're
jerk.
stupid, you kind of self-select yourself out.
Right. Don't be a jerk. That's the only rule. Colin.
There's
in
3,000
VTech
smart people. If you're rude, we don't
Right.
tolerate that.
Right. Colin has been a member for 16 months. Thank you, Colin.
Thank you,
brother.
Colin.
Way to go,
Colin was in our members only meeting last night. It was a good conversation that we had. We were talking about SWR and reflected power and what happens. And we don't have an answer yet. We're not going to get into it too much. I just wanted to kind of tease that a little bit. Next month, we'll have some more answers.
And you can join right down there
Little join button.
The join button to become a channel member, and then you can join the car Zoom call every month,
The Zoom.
which is
call.
where all the cool stuff gets talked about.
Yes, they are fun.
So, John, you have done some antenna modeling. Take it away. Tell us what's going on there.
All right, so we all love our car antennas, and to see how they perform, we can put them in some modeling software. Modeling software I'm using is MMANA, and so pardon me because I have the modeling software on a different screen. So yes, I'm much better looking than Ape.
Less grumpy too.
Yes. So I'm
Ouch.
going to turn my head that way towards the screen, so I'm not being rude, so don't think rude of me. I don't know. Are you sharing the screen, Steve?
Not yet. Give me.
Okay. All right. So there we go. All right. So what I've got is I've got a blank screen up here in the geometry tab. This is where you can enter in your coordinates, and you have to think in 3D because you're going to have an X coordinate, a Y coordinate, and a Z coordinate for every piece of wire you're going to put into this software. Or you can draw in, via the software, you can draw in your wire. So let's just do, let's see, X and Z. If I wanted to draw a wire, I can select the pencil here, and I can draw a wire in, just like that. And that wire is 20 meters long. So X coordinate 0, 0, 0. And then the second coordinate, which is the top, is 0, 0, and 20 meters. And then that R is the radius of the wire. 0.8 millimeters is equivalent to about a 20 gauge wire. And then it tells you the length, and it's 90 degrees up in the air, basically. So if you wanted to do that, we can also erase that if we want to. And we just hit the delete button and make that go away. So I'm going to get out of this real quick. And we'll go back to the geometry. So again, you can enter in all of your individual pieces. So I'm going to open up a file that I created for this. Let's do the Mercury antenna, which is the link dipole, correct?
Right.
Correct.
Okay.
Right.
So what I did is I built a link dipole antenna that is for 10 meters. So then if we want to take it to 20, we just add more wire to it. So this is what the antenna looks like in space. Let me zoom back out of that. So I've got the antenna about, how high do I have it? 6.1 meters is the apex of that. So give or take 18, 20 feet. Okay. I have a feed point here. That's that red dot in the center. And that is entered in here. So wire to end, 1 volt, 0 degrees in phasing, because we're not going to do any phasing tonight. I started.
God.
Yes.
It makes you grumpy. It makes you grumpy.
I love phasing. But anyway, so I've got this antenna set up. The first coordinate is negative 2.3 meters in X. It starts at 5 meters in Z, and then it goes to X is 0 and 6.1 in height. Okay, so that's how you get the slant from here to here. Okay, does that make sense to everybody?
Yeah.
All right. Okay. All right. So this is the calculation field, and this is where you figure out where your SWR is. It does all the calculations for you. So you set your frequency you want to look at, and you can manually enter in, or you can use one of the frequencies that's here. I built this for 28.4 megahertz, and we can add height here if we want to the antenna. I've built it already above ground, so we don't need to add any height. We can do that to see how height affects the pattern. But for right now, we've got this thing at apex at 6.1 meters. We're using copper wire. I should have the ground. Yeah, the radials are off. Okay. The ground setup tells you how your ground is. For most places in the U.S., at least in, the eastern U.S., western U.S., you get a little different. Western, you're going to get a little different conductivity in the soil. But for general purposes, we're going to leave it right here unless we want to talk about the seashore. But once you have your antenna built, you hit the start button, and it does all the calculations for you. Okay?
There's a space is there a space in there to add wire gauge, wire thickness?
Yes. So if you go back to the geometry, I had this R
0.8. Okay.
I have 0.8. You guys use 22 gauge wire, right?
Yes.
Right.
All right, so I'm going to change that. That's 0.6 meters or millimeters.
That'd
Got to
be
hit the
some
tab button.
fat wire.
0.62 millimeters.
No, 0.62 meters would have been.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah, that'd been nice.
That'd have been a pipe. So we'll go back to calculate. We'll see if that check affects it. Affects it a little bit. The SWR went up a little bit on it. And that's basically because of the skin effect on the wire. It changed the reactance in it a little bit. So what we have is we've got 50 ohms of real resistance. We've got some reactance there. We got an SWR of 1.63. We have a gain of 5.96 dBi. That's over an isotropic. Front to back, really front to back. It's basically off the ends and the lobe. The maximum radiation is at 38 degrees, and the horizontal polarization. So now we want to look at the plots for the far field. Okay. So you get, and this is the top-down view or plan view, and this is the elevation view on this side. Okay. So you can take a look at this in 3D as well, so you can see what the representation really looks like. So I'm going to drag this over here. For some reason, it wants to go up on this screen, which is not the screen I want it on. So let me drag this over here. Okay. So that is our antenna there, the black lines in the center. And that's what our radiation pattern looks like. Okay. The deeper the red, the higher the radiation till you get the pink. So down here at the bottom where we really don't have much radiation, we've got negative 30 dBi. And we go up to 0 dBi out here. Okay.
And you can rotate that image too.
Yes, I can rotate it. I can zoom it if I want to. Right. I can take slices of it. So I can look at the different slices. I can look at azimuth and elevation. You can.
Did you pick? I missed it. Did you pick a band that we're on right now?
Yeah, we're on 10 meters.
Okay.
28.4, Chuck.
Yeah, 28.4 is the frequency. So if I go back to the calculate screen, frequency is 28.4 because we got a 10 meter.
Sombrero. I love it, John.
Yeah, we've got a 10 meter dipole basically. So you can also look at the plots on this for SWR to see if you're short, long, whatever. So if I choose SWR here, and I'm going to put a bandwidth of, let's say, 800 kilohertz, and I'm going to go ahead and hit a detailed on it, and it's going to show me that my SWR drops down here about 28.8. So if I change this frequency now to 28.8 and do the calculation, my SWR is almost perfect.
That is awesome.
And that antenna is pretty good on 10 without a tenor.
Right. So now we can close this one out.
Before you start on the
hold
other
on,
one,
hold on,
John?
hold
Okay,
on,
yeah.
hold on.
Okay.
Questions?
Go ahead, Jim.
I thought you were telling me to hold on. Okay.
He was telling
So-
me
I
to
was
hold
telling
on.
John to hold on. I was telling you to go ahead.
I was moving
production.
too fast.
So, John, Ham Without a Plan is asking a question here that I thought was
Yep.
pretty interesting. If an antenna was less than a perfect straight line, more like an antenna that's dog-legged to fit in a smaller yard, how hard is it to put approximate lengths, and can you snap the wires together? So, I mean, I know what he's asking.
Right. So
I think I
let
know what
me-
he's asking, rather.
Let me mess with the geometry a little bit.
Can we get ghetto with the deployment is the question.
Right.
Yeah. So I'm going to change this. And I'm going to make this go out. Let me see how I want to do this. Let's make this move 2.0 meters that way. Let's see what that looks like. So now I got it janky off that side. And we're going to move this one. No, that's gonna screw it that way. 1 point, that's 3.2. Let's see how janky that is. Okay, that's pretty janky right there. You're compressing it. So we basically taken that antenna and folded it in on itself. Okay. So now if we look at the calculate on there, the SWR goes way up because
Wow.
we're less than 90 degrees on that angle. That's not a good example. Let me change
So
this back to
Todd's
0.
got a question here. Keep working, John. I want to address this question.
Yeah.
Can you add a transformer to calculate losses and SWR impact? And this is a
Oh,
resonant
so
antenna, so I'm not sure why you'd want a transformer.
right. You wouldn't, but you can for when we do like the end-fed half wave and we do the Poseidon, we're going to change the SWR that we want to look at, effectively putting a balun in place. So like for the Kronos or for the Poseidon, we're going to set the SWR for 200 ohms, right? So we want to look at the impedance at 200 ohms and that SWR built on 200 ohms. Same thing for the Apollo for the end-fed half wave. We're going to set it for 2450. Okay.
So
That
we
makes
can
sense.
is the answer,
Yes,
but we
yes.
don't have to on a resonant antenna.
No, we wouldn't do this on a resonant antenna.
Right.
Let me think through this real quick. I had one built that was kind of janky, and I don't remember where that file's stored at. But yeah, let me think about that. I have to think about where that file's at, and if we get done with this, I'll come back to it. But we
Okay.
can, because it's going to be hard for me to think in 3D and try to do all this at one time. So if I close this one and open, yes, the Mercury now at 20, right? So all we did was change the length of the wires here, and we got a longer antenna. Okay. So now we went from 10 meters to 20 meters. So when I go to my calculate, 14,150, it's kind of where I built this thing for. Hit the start button. My SWR is 1.85. It's a little high. I'm seeing 89 ohms. My far field plot, I'm seeing about 5.1 dB of radiation now, of gain. But again, this thing's low to the ground, so I'm pushing a bubble of RF. If I look at it in 3D, and of course it's going to want me to pull it from this screen to this screen. I don't know why it does that. But that's the pattern I'm looking at. Okay?
I could tell
No.
you and you still wouldn't care.
Okay. So, let's go back to there and to the calculate screen. And we've got this thing at 6.1 meters. So it's the same height as that 10 meter antenna we just had. But let's go back to calculate and let's add, I don't know, let's add 7 more meters. So let's say we can get this thing up about 40 feet. All right. And now we're going to start and calculate. SWR went down. The gain went down a little bit. But the far field plot, now we start to see this thing start to flatten out a little bit. And if we look at the 3D model over here, come on, we get that same sombrero, right? But now we're getting lower radiation angles.
That's even more of a sombrero.
Yep.
So let's talk about real quick while you have this up.
Mhm.
The pink is 0 dB, which is the best measurement you have. And I know that the dB is weird and people get really hung up on this. So do you have a good explanation on why we should ignore the dB and just consider it like a reference number? Like this is better than that, not this is actual antenna
so
performance or actual gain.
you have dBi and you have dBd, okay? dBi is the isotropic. dBd is your against the dipole, okay? I'm not sure why this scale uses this here. It doesn't make any sense to me either, because obviously I've got 0.7 dB gain here, right? And I've got negative 2.9 here. So if I go back to the 3D again, I guess because I'm close to 0 dB here, I'm getting that pink number, right? Now, when I have 5 dB, I should be seeing brighter colors. But for some reason, the scale only goes to 0 here. And I've messed with it 100 times, and I don't know why it does that.
Is it auto scaling or something based on the antenna parameters? And it just decided that's all you bloody well need?
Yeah, pretty much, I think. It could be it. I'm looking at the scale here.
Because this is a dipole, so there's not a lot of gain on a
There,
dipole.
yeah, there's
Right.
there's no gain. That's what I was thinking.
Well, see, now we
0
got a
dB
-1.
is not great either.
No, but that's unity gain, right?
Right.
Yes. Right.
So if I have this dipole lower to the ground, we had less gain from unity, right? We were in a negative column. Now we're up at 0 dB. Okay. So
And so if you plot a line from the center of the antenna, the feed point of the antenna through that pink
okay,
portion of the antenna at an angle, then that's going to be where you're headed on the ionosphere to bounce back off. And you can kind of look at your takeoff angles. You can
Right.
see that this is, broadside versus, line side.
right.
And,
So
orient your, like I'm in Oklahoma right now. So if I put this up north-south, I'm going to get California and Maryland really good.
east west. Yep, exactly.
Yep.
Now,
Can you-
your launch. Go ahead, Jim.
Well, my question was because Steve was asking about takeoff angles. Can you? Will this show me a takeoff angle?
Sure. So here's my takeoff angle here.
Oh,
Right.
okay. Yeah.
So here
on that
I'm at 0 degrees,
Mhm.
and as I come up, here's 5 degrees. And if I want to look at the elevation, right? Let's say I want to look at it 10 degrees off the horizon. Okay. So now I can look 10 degrees off the horizon. I'm 4.5 dBi gain there
Okay.
off that broadside pattern, and I'm negative 2.9 here. Okay. At this elevation.
That is
Now,
slick.
The issue is we're looking at this, and I can't turn this piece. I can't turn 90 degrees for some reason, but we would see a better slice this way if I could turn this 90 degrees, but it won't allow me to do that.
So Raphael's got a good point here. If you go back to that 3D plot, he's saying the vertical cut is showing the x-axis. If you rotate the antenna 90 degrees,
degrees.
aligning it to the y-axis, you'll see the maximum radiation. And I think you did that.
Yeah, let me do that real quick.
And Raphael, thank you for being a member for 34 months, my friend.
Yeah, 34, man.
That's the polite way to type in all caps.
So there's your slice right there. And can I rotate that?
I feel like we're about to create something to 3D print here.
Ah, there you go.
Oh, that would be awesome, Jim. 3D printed antenna models for sale.
Right?
Yeah,
Right?
there you go.
Oh, that is awesome. I'm going to have to kill a couple days at work learning this thing.
Okay. So that's what it looks like, and you can actually fill all this in if you wanted to.
Make it a solid instead of a wireframe.
There's your
Would
coordinate.
the crown of the sombrero work as Nevis? I believe so.
Yes,
You're
but-
sending radiation up, but 20 meters isn't a good Nevis band, people
No,
say.
the wavelength's too small for Nevis. Right.
But that would work well for 80 meters, right?
Right.
Yeah, work great for 40 and below.
40 and
yeah.
80 and below.
I had this. I can make this thing fill in.
But Sean, try it. I mean, what's the worst that can happen? You make a contact by accident? This really has a lot to do
Still
with
works
like
as well.
yeah,
There's
like
your fill-in.
who else has their antenna set up wrong, quote unquote.
Oh, I like that
There's
even
no-
better, John.
There's no right way to set up an antenna, but there's lots and lots of opinions on what the wrong way is. The right way is the one that gets you on the air and makes contacts. The wrong way is the guy on the other end of the contact going, "That'll never work." You're 5'9", by the way,
Yep.
Yeah,
Okay,
I've
so-
had that happen.
all
Again,
the time.
we can look at a 40 meter. I mean, we kind of killed the dipoles here. I mean, we can look at it at 40 meters if you want, but I don't.
I got one more dipole question for you,
Yeah.
Yoda. Chavez is asking about, he saw a video of a guy bending dipole wires for attic installations. Do they have to be straight?
They don't.
They don't, but
No.
straighter is
It does-
better, right?
It does change your pattern a little bit.
Yep.
Yep. That's why I was trying to think of one I can bend. I guess I can try and draw one.
I mean, if you're trying to, a lot of people have air conditioner units or water heaters or whatnot in their attic, right?
Yeah.
Stuff in the near field.
Give me
Yeah.
just a second here and let me draw something.
If it's the only wire you can put up, do it and enjoy it. If you are looking for the most optimal design, get you a tower with 7/7/7 stacked Yagis on a rotator
Yeah.
and point them in the right direction with 1500 watt full legal limit amplifier, and yeah, I don't worry about it. I contacted St. Helena, which is just off of the coast of Africa, the southern coast of Africa. 10 watts on an inverted L where the maximum height was probably 15 feet. 10 meters.
I got Antarctica on 100 watts on FT8.
And he heard me and responded at 5, but we couldn't
On the
complete the
Poseidon.
contact, so I had to go up to 10.
I feel dirty now because I had to use 100 watts to get to Antarctica.
Well, at least you were using a good antenna.
That was on the
Alright.
Poseidon. That was on
Yeah.
a Poseidon for sure.
None of these filthy dipoles.
Dipoles are just dirty. I've acquired several dipoles too, Tio, in the acquisition
we've got-
yesterday.
We've got a
I
bent
think
wire
I
here.
see Sunday's video coming up, Sunday's live stream.
I think so too. It's gonna be show and tell.
Geometry calculate. Okay.
Did
So
you
this
get
is
that
gonna be
radio
about
that you
40
showed me
meters.
there yesterday,
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
James?
Okay. So I didn't do too bad.
Is it-
So what I've got is I got a bent wire here, right? It looks kind of like a W. Dipole for 40 meters. I've raised it up to 10 meters in height, so it's about 30 feet.
Oh, I know what James is asking.
And then let's look at the far field. And
Extra cost, James.
see, it changed the pattern a little bit. It's not a straight oval any longer, right? So I pull this up in 3D.
Raphael is 100% true.
Come on.
Transmit while your antenna's blowing in the wind, and you'll see the SWR change.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yes.
See how it's off kilter now?
Yeah.
Okay. And if we
From-
put that in a wire frame, we could probably
from the
see a little
center.
better.
It's not a sombrero anymore.
Yeah. Well, this is
There's no-
40 meters, though. Don't forget. I made this one 40 meters. We'd have to raise it up to get it the sombrero for us. But it does change it off the axis a little bit. You can see it better here, where that was vertically straight along the y-axis. Now it's turned kind of egg-shaped, so the pattern bends a little bit. Does that make sense to everybody?
Mhm.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, so if we went and calculate, and let's drop this up to 20 meters now, and hit start. My SWR all the way up, but it didn't. It's starting a sombrero. It's just not high enough yet. Anyways, so that's kind of the dipole thing. If we go to open, no, I don't want to save that. Let's do the end fed because the end fed's really kind of interesting.
I want to point out that we have antennas available at coffeeandhamradios.com.
Yes, and they are very good
Don't-
antennas.
The ones we're talking about and modeling
Yes.
for you, even.
the one we're modeling for you because we care.
All right,
Go ahead, John.
so this
well,
is the Apollo, end fed half wave, and what do I have this built for? This is built for 40 up to 40 meters, and I've got a counterpoise on this as well. So I've got a little wire sticking out the back here. If that makes sense to y'all.
Yes,
Okay, so we're gonna
because
go 40
someone
meters.
is all about the counterpoises, and he gets his fur all
Mm-hmm.
ruffled if people say, "I don't use a
Okay,
counterpoise."
so we have the SWR
I don't.
22450, and where you set that is in the setup. So I go here to setup, and I set my standard SWR. What we want to have is the real impedance, the ohmic impedance.
Ohmic
Set it for
impedance,
2450, which is 20. What is that?
yeah.
49 to 1.
Yep.
Okay. So now we get a far field plot. Now the plot's interesting because we get, looking down on it, we get a big bubble here, right? It looks much like a vertical, but look at it from the side, right? And if I take it to 3D, oh, why does this want to do this to me?
Because it's a live demo, John.
Yeah. So now I get that gumdrop, but counterintuitively,
That is weird.
the gain is heavier off the backside of the antenna, away from the radiating element. Isn't that interesting?
So
So the radiating element's the black line in the diagram?
Yeah,
there?
so you have the black line here is the radiating element, and then I've got a counterpoise along the ground. And it's
So the-
pushing more of the RF behind the antenna.
so,
So the
counterintuitive.
counterpoise.
what if
I
you
don't
change
know.
the length of that? Sorry, what if you change the length of that counterpoise?
And we can certainly do that.
What is that going to do with the gumdrop?
You want to make it
Tio-
shorter?
or get rid of it. Chuck runs barefoot without one, and I have too, and I'm
Okay.
proud of it.
Let's take
Not
it
all the
out.
time, but sometimes.
When I first
Yeah,
built
see.
mine, I never bothered with it, and it worked fine.
Delete.
Raphael is
Alright.
correct. I don't know why, but it does kind of follow the counterpoise. You think it would push in the
Now,
opposite direction?
It pushes.
Might be the lean.
Yeah, it pushes. It pushes my SWR around a little bit, and
Mm-hmm.
the one thing about MMA I will tell you is when you get things close to the ground, the SWRs get all kind of wonky, and I'm not sure where the problem is in the calculating engine, but the pattern's going to be true. Okay, so if I go to my 3D pattern again,
I mean,
took
that
the
looks
counter-
pretty close to the same shape already.
yeah, I took the counterpoise off,
Yep.
and we
Oh, it's
still
a
have
little-
that same gumdrop.
Yeah.
Right? Now, what's really interesting is if you take this to a flat top, right? Instead of putting it on the ground as a sloper, run it as a flat top.
Off center fed dipole.
With your
Yeah.
feed point up high.
Up to 5 feet point up high. So I built that thing. Where's it at here?
Somebody in the chat was just asking about that. James, KC8 OPV. What if you model it with the transformer in the air? James, we heard you. We got you.
Right. So now my geometry, it's the same thing. It's built, but I've got it at 0, right? I've got it on the ground. Yeah. So I have to so I'm going to put it at 10 meters because most of us can get an antenna at 10 meters, right? And we want it for the
Yeah.
40. Yep. Now look at the far field plot.
Hmm.
Hang on, let me pull this back up here. Now it looks much like a dipole, doesn't it?
I mean, it looks like a jelly bean.
Yeah, but
Yeah,
it's
it looks a lot like a
broadside
dipole.
versus off the ends,
Yeah.
right? So it acts more like a off center fed dipole.
Now,
In this
okay, so
configuration.
in that diagram, the radiator's the black wire out to the right.
Yep, and then there's my counterpoise coming down here.
Okay.
Yep. Now, if I change the height, the pattern gets interesting. And it's just because we're dealing with a 40-meter antenna, right?
Huh.
It's back over.
Starman is correct. This is theoretical. This is what the physics and the math say, and then the
Yep.
physics and the math meet the real world. So
Right.
you're going to be really close to this, but you'll need to make a little tiny bit of adjustments here and there. So I have an antenna. It was a vertical antenna with radials coming off the bottom of it, and it worked fine at the campsite that I was at. But when I went out into the bayou where I had sandy soil and lots of really big leafy green foliage, it didn't work at all. So
Yep.
it really depends on your
And it could
personal
have been
environment.
just a ground conductivity too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so,
So-
sandy soil, usually the ground conductivity is much lower,
Right.
and then the green leafy foliage absorbs the
RF.
pattern and reflects it back at you hard.
Right. So your Apollo is a multi-band antenna, correct?
Yes.
Exactly, Jam
Right.
Stan.
So now we're going to change this to 20 meters. We're going to leave it the same height, and we're going to go ahead and hit it.
Yeah,
Look at
the
my
Apollo's
SWRs
the
real
end-fed
almost-
half wave.
Yes. And
So
my far
40,
field
20,
plot,
15, and 10.
right? Now what you'll notice is I'm on the first harmonic, right, from 40 to 20, and now I have 2 lobes, right? If we go to
Those
the
aren't
third
pillows.
harmonic, we go to 3 lobes, or 4 lobes, and we go to the fourth harmonic, we'll get 8 lobes off the thing. So if we go to 3D again, I wish I could fix that, but I can't fix it. Now the pattern's
Oh,
really
It
interesting.
keeps opening it up on another
Screen.
monitor.
Yeah. That pattern is a beautiful pattern, right? Because when you start
Especially if
looking
you
at-
could rotate it.
Yeah. Well, yeah, you can spin it, put that spin DX on it. But
Exactly.
these lobes are really low on the horizon. So your radiation is low angle, and you've got good high gain lobes, right? Now you do have some nulls in this thing, but you just set it up the way you want it, just like any other one.
Now, if I put that up in Oklahoma and I have the y-axis pointing towards California and Alabama, I won't be able to hear any of the nonsense from Jim and Chuck because of those
Exactly.
nulls in the pattern. It's perfect. I love
But
it.
if you can get that thing
Thank you,
aimed that
buddy.
way, yeah, that'll work. If we go back to this pattern, I wish I could turn this. But let's look at the elevation at 10 degrees here.
Other
We'll
Andy,
allow it, Andy.
Look at that,
34 months, a
7
member.
dBi.
Nice.
Yeah.
Thank you, Andy.
So you get really good gain off of this antenna at low radiation angle. This will be a DX monster, basically, right? Compared to a vertical or a standard dipole, at this height, this thing's going to be a DX monster. And again, you can, if we change it to calculate and we go down to 10 meters, start. SWR still good. Now I get
Holy
this
mackerel.
clock face. Get this clock face pattern. It's more impressive in 3D. Drag this over.
That's what she said.
There you go. That's pattern and a half there, baby.
So what happens if you switch this? This is horizontal with the counterpoise dangling off the end. What happens if you switch this to ground-mounted vertical? That's the way I typically deploy it. Well, no, sorry. This is the NFED half wave.
Yeah, the
No,
NFED
you're
half
Yeah,
right.
wave.
this is the Apollo, not
Yeah, I mean we could certainly look at
I can't do vertical on the Apollo.
open. No, I don't want to save anything there.
you don't have a 30-meter mast.
No, I can't afford that.
Where would you put it?
I make YouTube videos for a living. I can't afford a 30-meter mast.
All right, so let's go to let's see, 500. Okay. There's my far field plot on that one.
Andy's
This is-
asking if you phased the Chronos in MMA&A yet. I think you have.
I'm not sharing that.
Single band.
So there you go. That's what it
Trade-
looks like in a sloper configuration.
Trade secrets, Andy.
I'll save
See,
that one.
Sloper is
The last
really
was-
easy to configure. And then, go ahead, Chuck.
I was going to say, was the last one Sloper also?
No, it was a flat top.
That was
How
flat top.
high?
I had it at
30
20
feet.
meters,
Yeah, you had it 60 feet up.
60 feet
So
up.
Oh, 60 feet.
I almost hate to ask you this. 60 feet up flat top is going to be really hard. What if you put this at 4 feet up flat top?
Oh, we
4
need
feet
to
up,
check
flat
that.
top?
We need
Because
to
this
look
is
at that.
I've done this on an NFED half wave, and I've reached the entire east coast of the United States, which is fantastic for POTA
right,
and
you
super
want
easy to
flat
deploy.
top.
Tie it to the picnic table.
How high did you want it?
I don't know,
4
4
feet.
feet, picnic table high.
So, 1.5
meter?
meters.
Give it a meter.
Yeah, sure.
Give it a meter.
1 meter.
1 meter.
1 meter. 1 meter only, please.
Yes.
And
1 meter only.
One.
what
we must-
frequency? Does
40.
it matter? 40.
You don't get Nevis
Oh,
any other
my
way,
lowest
man.
point of the antenna is too low. I got to take that counterpoise off. Bear with me a second here.
Yeah, I don't think I ran the counterpoise. I think I was being lazy.
All right, back to calculate.
While you're doing
My
that, Sean's
SWR is
asking,
hosed up, but
do more of those lobes indicate that an antenna is better at DX, or is the magnitude of the lobes with 0 dB pink better DX? The magnitude is better DX, but the lobes give you nulls where you can stop listening to people you don't want to and start listening to people you do. And it's important when you deploy the antenna, if you're trying to get DX, you don't make the null point towards Europe, as an example,
So-
from America.
in addition to that, Sean, for DX, lower radiation angles are better. Okay? So at 5, 10 degrees, your angle of refraction in the atmosphere is shallower. So your radio waves travel longer before they
Right.
refract again. And when they refract, they do have some attenuation. So it's less hops for DX the lower that angle is, right? So if you listen to Callum, right? Callum always talks about 5 degrees off the horizon. Now, there's some people tell you that there's the ground absorbs. You won't ever get 5 degrees because the ground absorbs a lot of it. I'm not going to get into that argument. I always look at 5 to 10, right? Somewhere in there is your sweet spot for long range DX. Okay, your short hops, your 500 mile, 600 mile hops, about 20 to 30 degrees. NVES starts at about 60 degrees, and then you're closing it in the more you go. But that, if you put that pattern, you get that big gumdrop.
So
Steve.
that is an NVIS kind of setup right
It is.
there.
And 40
Yep.
meters it is for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All that pink is where your signal is going. It's going straight
Right.
up and coming straight back down.
Yeah. Now,
Ish.
if I take
Straight-ish.
this,
Yeah.
if we take it to 10 meters, just for shits and giggles,
That's right, John. Nevis.
you still get a
NVIS,
pretty good pattern.
NVIS, John.
And
NVIS.
NVIS.
You just lost a member, Jim.
ENNVIZ. NVIS.
He's going to switch from FEP Labs over to temporarily offline.
So there you go. It's still putting a lot of radiation up, but you got some angles coming off that are usable, right? This stuff in the center at 10 meters is, I mean, it's stupid. What's that?
Not you, John. John in the chat.
Oh.
I can't even repeat it.
Oh, I see
John's
it.
on the far side of he's on the far side of R rated.
All right. So yeah, it's you do get some usable bandwidth out of it, or usable pattern out of this at 10 meters that low. So again, it depends on the soil. If I take this same thing, let's play around with the soil for a second, right?
So this is 10 meters on an end-fed half wave at 1 meter off the ground. That was actually
Right.
fantastic. For
That's
DX.
I'm kind of jazzed about that. I'll be deploying that tomorrow.
That's the laziest phone-it-in way of doing a
I'm
POTA
like,
contact to
yeah.
Europe.
Okay. Let's put it
Forget
by
all
the
that.
seashore and see what it does.
Forget all that throw weight
I wanna-
nonsense and finding trees.
Yeah.
Screw that.
Yeah, just to the local shrub.
Yeah, put it down where people can trip over it, man.
Tell your
I kind
kid
of want to
hold it.
argue about saltwater DX. I think it's a lie.
It's not.
It's a hot take. Well, John, I think we have to have a better conversation than I think it is, and you think it's not. We should go
Okay.
deeper.
So
Okay, before you get started, I want to see the Poseidon really bad, and it's
Okay.
20-8. So
Okay. All right, let's go see the Poseidon.
I don't want you to cut off from what you're going to say. I just
That's
I'm
all
like,
right.
Jason,
see
we're all
Poseidon
thinking
there,
it.
buddy.
We might need to have a whole other show on arguing about saltwater DX.
What's your
Actually,
show?
it's a friendly debate. It's not an argument.
Oh, wait a minute. I did something
Well,
wrong
we could
here.
bring John to church. And,
Oh yeah, take
What
him to
did I do
church.
wrong here? Oh, I see what I did wrong.
Starman, Tommy, thank you for the $4.99 super chat, buddy.
Legend.
Thanks, Starman.
All right.
Yeah,
What
nice.
have I done here?
Y'all don't let Tommy be the only one. You know, I'm
Negative
just
5.
saying.
Fudge me. You know, sometimes
Just
I'm
leading
an
the way.
idiot.
That's
All
right.
right, this should be better now. There we go. There's our Kronos, or our Poseidon, either or. Really doesn't matter. It's the same
I'm
antenna.
happy
right?
to have Walt on.
One's just higher power than the other. So let's see. The SWR is gonna be really hosed up here. Just know that.
I think he did, John.
39 is not gonna be.
It's allowed on the Noir show.
Yeah. All right. So. Oh, I know what I did wrong there too. Set up. Change that back. Okay. There we go. I gotta recalculate again because it wants to do that. Okay. So you get the vertical radiation pattern that you would normally get, and you know it's a vertical, so that's what you would expect, right?
Nice lobes.
Nothing.
Nice lobes.
Nice lobes, baby.
Nice lobes, baby.
Ferengi would be
Yeah.
proud.
There you go. You
Oh, look
your
at that donut.
There's your donut.
That is
That's
a
beautiful.
toroid, son.
Yep.
And which band
This is why this is the perfect antenna.
This is on 40.
Do it on
Low
15.
radiation angle.
All right. So the interesting thing
I'm
is when you
told
start
15 is really good.
when you change the frequency, because the antenna is going to act differently because it's now a 5/8 a wave or 3/4 wave
Right. Different.
antenna.
Yep.
Right. You get a different pattern.
Oh,
Okay. Now, look at the lobes, how low they are here, right? So if we go to 3D, and God, this is really annoying, and I apologize, folks.
dude, you're fine. Listen,
There
John,
you go.
none of us are smart
That's a
enough to
cowboy
run this
hat.
program.
This
Nice, I like
It's not
that.
a sombrero; it's a cowboy hat.
I
But
was
look
gonna
at
say
that
looks
radiation
more
down
like
here.
Heisenberg's hat, but
Yeah, a fedora,
Whatever that hat is. Yeah.
right?
pork pie.
What's that top section? What's the angle there? Can you
This right
where
here,
it's- No,
Yeah,
no,
we can do that.
well, on the lower part,
here. Yeah, we can
the
look at that.
top edge of that.
Jody, thank you.
Jody,
for this.
thank you.
Yeah, you're
Appreciate
going to
it, buddy.
be Chuck,
Right
you're
about
going to be at
there.
about, what is that? I'm at 180 there. So I'm at about 15 degrees, Chuck.
Yeah,
So
about where
this
you
thing's going to
said.
be it's going to be a DX monster here too as well.
And we've seen that in real life.
Oh yeah.
So let's go 15. All right.
I mean, Alabama to Antarctica
Yeah.
is a good
Yeah.
hump.
Yeah, it's a good antenna compared to a standard vertical. You're about 7 dB better.
That is awesome.
So let's look at 6. Since you're just
Okay.
doing it, I mean, because I
Hey.
made a good contact on 6.
I'm here for you guys. I'm here to make you happy.
From Jellystone,
You're doing a
to
fantastic
California.
job.
SWR, look at the SWR.
Oh yeah, 6 is
1.79.
always good for some reason.
Oof.
Oh,
Oh,
that's good.
wow. That's weird.
Kind
That's
That
why
is
you
a-
got California from Montana, Wyoming.
Oh, wow. Okay, that is a strange pattern. Whew. Yeah, they don't call it the magic band for nothing. Let me pull this over. Sorry about that, guys.
That looks
Just-
like a tornado.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah.
Yep.
I was really surprised I got the guy.
I'm in Oklahoma. Don't say that.
So on the
Go ahead.
3D, that is really odd. Can you go back to the 3D?
Sure. Be glad to.
Because it's easier for me to
Your
Looks like
wish
a
is my
bowl
command.
almost.
visualize that. Well, I didn't mean it to sound like an imperative. It was an interrogatory. So what is that doing for me with the
These angles are
inside
awful
where the
high.
where
Right?
the-
There's
well,
nothing
yeah.
there in the center.
Well,
right?
right. But like where the pink on top is folding back over top on
Yeah.
the funnel part.
It's gonna
Well-
be it's gonna be going straight up. I mean, some of it's radiating out, but it's not.
That
I mean,
is-
it's
yeah.
cloud warmer. Right? You do have these low angles here, which are going to help
Yeah, but
you on
this-
DX, but your power's down a bunch.
I don't do 6 as often as Chuck does. I don't do 6 hardly at all. But does it reflect off the ionosphere like the other bands do, or what?
It wants more
Oh.
of a sporadic E.
Yeah.
Yeah, it doesn't reflect as much off the F layer as it does off of the E layer. You know, D
Because of
absorbs.
the frequency.
Yeah, right.
Because of the
Because
wavelength.
the shorter the wavelength, the easier it is to go through the atmosphere. Because when
Yep.
you think about it, right, the atmosphere, the ionosphere is not like an eggshell, right? It's more like cotton candy, right? So that's why you see the muff everywhere is different, right? Because it's got different charges, different amount of charge from the X-ray flux from the sun at different points. So you end up with, you know, this kind of marshmallow or cotton candy around the earth, and some of it's going to absorb and some of it's going to bounce off. There's hard and soft spots. It's not a squirter, John. So, anyways, but that's
John meant
that's how
that the
works.
other way.
Yes, that's the way it works.
James has a serious non-perverted
What is the
question.
radial field here? It's
Yeah,
the
what is-
4 17-meter radials.
This is
So-
this is a production Poseidon. Yep.
Right.
Yeah.
So
Now,
I got
how
a little
much
shorter
does-
than 17 feet, but
So you pick a band, but how does the addition or subtraction of radials affect?
oh, let's take a look. Let's
The
take
pattern.
2 away. All right, I don't want to put 2 on one side, so I want to take this one away.
Well, yeah, I was thinking half and then doubling the radials. So 8 instead of 4, and then 2, 4, and 8.
There's
That's going to
2.
require a little extra math.
I
Yeah, so I got
apologize,
2.
my friend.
All right, but the 8's going to
There you go.
require a little extra math. So
Oh, you're going to get broadside, I bet.
And what
Doesn't
band are
change
we
it
on
at
here
all.
still?
40 doesn't change
40.
it at all.
Nice.
That's kind of what we saw.
Change the
I mean, it
SWR
wasn't
a little bit,
Yeah.
and that makes sense.
I've
because
been
you're not as
told to
much wire.
ignore the SWR and MMA-NA
It
many
is.
times.
It is. It especially when you're near the ground, right? I have this
See ya,
one meter
Chavez.
off the ground. It something
Chavez.
about the reactance gets really foobarred up, and there's no way that thing's 15 ohms. You know, at 40 meters, it can't be,
right.
right? Because you're feeding this at the end basically. So, you know, at worst case it should be 35 ohms, but it should be way more than that. But the interesting thing, let's close this real quick.
Now, I never tried it with 2. I've done it with 8. And, of course, I wasn't using Manamana Gal
Right.
to see what I did there.
All right, now I'm going to change
Deep,
this
deep,
to
deep.
next to saltwater.
But
Change
we
dark
didn't
around.
see, I was using the Rig Expert,
Yeah.
as my friend Chuck would do, because we are civilized human beings. And I didn't see a whole lot of difference between 4 and 8 radials on the Poseidon at all.
So
I didn't try it with 2, but
rule of thumb with a vertical is minimum is 1 wavelength at the lowest frequency you're going to use, right?
okay.
2 wavelengths is better. 3 wavelengths is good. 4 wavelengths is pretty much the break point as to where your effort goes against your gain. Diminishing returns. Exactly. So, you just have to look at it from. Thanks, Jason. You have to look at it from where you want to do it. So, for me, when I'm setting up a vertical, usually I'm throwing out 1 wavelength for something that's quick. If I'm going to be there for a week on camping and I'll put the DX Commander up, I'm going to put 2 wavelengths down. Right? Now, if I had like my 12.4 that I have in the yard that's laying on its side right now because I need to fix it, I've got 500 meters of radial down on that thing. Right? But
Lord Callum says you don't need to do that. That's cray.
I know. It's cray, but I wanted to do it because I
Did
had
you
some...
tell him that? Did he mock you?
Oh, yes, he did. He says, "Why'd you do all that?" I said, "Because I
Did
wanted
he call
to."
you a wanker?
No, he didn't call me wanker. But the reason I did that is I was looking at putting up an inverted L for 160 in that spot. So I wanted to have more radials down. Now, do I really get that much more gain off it? I probably squeeze another, half a dB a gain by having that many radials down. Would I do it again? No.
Do you staple all those down so you can mow over that?
Mm-hmm.
Oh my
So,
God!
little
I
trick.
bet you were very grumpy.
The little trick is you get the little biodegradable tabs. You can get them from Callum, but if you go to a sod store or a landscape store, they'll have them. And
You can't say
instead of
sod store in the UK.
yeah, exactly, sod off, buddy.
Sorry, Eamon.
Instead of going every 3 or 4 feet, you just tie a knot at the end, an open loop knot at the end of your radio wire, and just put 1 down and put that thing in the ground. And by the time that thing disintegrates, it's got enough dirt and grass over it, it just holds it in place. Just don't mow there because it will suck it up. I don't know that from experience, but it will happen.
My lawn guys
I
know
know
it.
a guy.
I know a guy that might have done that.
Apes lawn guys do it all the time.
Yeah, mine will too. I have to go out every weekend. They only mow every other weekend for me. I do it myself too, but I have to go out and tell them, see here, no,
All right.
no.
If you yell,
Ronnie
if you
wants to
yell
know if
louder,
we're
they'll
Look at that
understand.
pattern.
restocking. Ronnie, what do we need to restock? What are we out of?
Look at that pattern.
That looks beautiful. That looks
Under the-
perfect.
Under
Flat.
the dome. I like that.
Right? That is what did I set that up as? Where's my damn cursor go? There it goes. That is 20 meters by the seashore on that thing, right? And if I go down to elevation of 5 degrees, the magic number, I've got 5 dB, so I'm 10 dB better than a standard vertical at 5 degrees. Sweet stuff.
That's impressive.
Yep. But I will tell you, I've owned an Apollo, I own the Mercury, and I own a Kronos and a Poseidon. Now, the Kronos is Chuck sent me a ballon I made my own when I was testing that. They're testing the toroid out, not the ballon, but the toroid out.
I got it, Steve.
And it,
Okay.
all these antennas work. That's the whole thing about this, right? All these antennas work. You can deploy them quickly and they all work, right? It's just like Callum's antennas. Callum antennas work, right? Don't fall for the, the ads that everybody puts out that this antenna is the best antenna, that antenna is the best antenna. Half of them, it's all hokum, right?
Holcomb.
You know, listen to people who've used the antennas and buy the antennas they tell you to buy. You know, and make your own antennas too. I mean, building the kits is fun. These guys
Ronnie,
put together a good kit.
Yeah.
Ronnie, we are not out of anything except the Chronos right now.
Yeah.
And
I
if you're
have the
going to
parts for it
anything
now.
other, if you're going to any website URL other than coffeeandhamradios.com, you're going to the wrong website.
This is the pet peeve of Jim's because people give out the wrong website, and they have for a long time, and it's caused us much strife. So, yeah.
Hey, Steve, can I share one more
You sure can, John.
just for giggles? It's not one of yours, but
However
one of
many are there,
yours?
Frank, I don't know, and I ain't looking it up. There's more than one and less than enough.
Jamscan's asking about EasyNeck. We talked about this last night. EasyNeck and MMA&A use the same
Two.
back-end engine, but MMA&A has shockingly, a little more friendly user interface.
Chuck, is that
I think
right?
there's-
Just two?
I think
Are we
there's
almo-
two or three.
I wasn't going to look it up because Frank
we're
was
almost
asking,
out.
but
We're almost out.
I knew we
World
were
Radio
getting-
League's here.
Getting close.
Which ones are we out of, Chuck?
World Rail.
The chokes.
We're just out of
Oh.
the Chronos.
so
I have the parts
This
for
is
the
my
Chronos. I just didn't
project.
have time to make them.
Ooh. We're just going to shut off all of California. I like it.
there you go.
So tell us about this. What makes this special? Why are we in awe? I mean, I'm in awe. I know why,
So-
but I want you to sizzle it.
So this is two elements on a vertical,
Mhm.
2-element vertical. It's phased, 90 degrees out of phase, and it creates cardioid pattern. So what you can do with this is, if you wanted to, you can switch the pattern from this direction and that direction by throwing a switch. Or if I feed them both into, I didn't pull that over. Shit. That's what I wanted to do. There's you go. I had the pattern on the wrong one. So there it is in 3D, right?
That is cool.
So you can see the two verticals there, and you can see the takeoff
Yep.
in one direction and the absolute block in the other
Yep,
direction,
in
the
other end.
reject.
That's front to back, right? So I
Got the
put
friend
these
zone
both-
on the left.
All right, so now I'm going to do this again. And now I'm going to
Ooh.
go to the sides, right?
And pro tip, if you're ever with John and he's setting this up, don't talk
Stay
to him.
away. Yeah.
Jesus, Beats, man, I tell you
Do
what.
not give him, don't make eye contact with
So
him.
now I can go broadside to the antenna as well. So,
John, I'm not putting that up, John.
I was going to say, I was waiting for Jim to put it up. Jim will do anything once. Thank you,
Yeah.
John.
it is
Hey,
not.
thank you for the $5 super chat, John.
John wants us to dance around the 36s.
That antenna is not hard to put up.
It sure looked hard when you did it at Orlando.
I told you what happened. I had thrown everything in the truck because I had it all in the camper, and I forgot a bunch
Excuses.
of the stuff that were supposed to go with it.
A poor
So-
carpenter blames his truck.
Exactly. All right. Well, that's all I got to show you guys tonight.
John, that was awesome.
Can you
And-
do Yaggies on there? Like a Moxon?
Yes. Yeah, you can.
Do my Moxon. 10 meter.
Do your what?
Does it take take
Do
too
we,
much
do we have time for that? He's got a minute and a half.
He's probably got to model that a whole
I
bunch.
was going to see if I've got a model of it. I got a cubicle quad.
If we get 37 $1 super chats, John will stay by for an extra 37 minutes. Thank you, Jimmy.
Jimmy, appreciate it, man.
Yeah, I don't have one on here. I
And
don't
y'all
have a
need to
model.
drop a
That's all-
like.
that's all
'cause
right.
It owes you a pork chop
I can
sandwich.
I can model it and send you the pictures of it, Chuck,
Okay.
if you want.
Next show, Chuck.
Yeah. Hey,
Next
anytime
year.
you want me back to do this
What-
stuff, I'll be glad to do it.
What are you doing Saturday morning?
Sunday morning.
Sunday morning.
Well, no, Saturday's my show. I've got a plan.
Oh,
None of my other plans have worked out.
last minute.
Oh,
Well, no,
I
it's
mean, I
not
can
last
come
minute.
back,
I've
but-
already got a plan, but if he's available,
Almost,
we can,
Raphael.
we can do
Almost.
this.
What's
I,
holding you back, brother?
Raphael.
Probably
Thank
the
you.
shipping to
Thank you for the
Brazil.
super chat, by the
Let
way.
me just check with the missus, Jim. I'll give you a text after this. And
That's fine.
if
I've
I
got a
can-
show lined up if you're not available, but
Yeah,
you're
you
more
can write.
interested. in it.
anytime you guys want to, look at antennas like this stuff, a little bit of time to prep it works great. But
We're hams. We always want to look at antennas.
Yeah, this is.
can I
Is
show
Hollywood
you my
here?
antenna?
Yeah.
Show me
Have
your-
you
show
met
me-
my antenna?
We've been planning this since Orlando Hamcation, so that's how long it takes.
Yeah. And
I need
one
somebody to
of the-
tell me what this thing is. Can you put me on the large screen there?
Yeah.
I got you.
Tell me what this thing is.
He's
What
like
is Chuck's dingus?
he's like
showing
a
you his
dog with a
dingus.
bone, isn't he?
This part right here.
That's a grub screw.
Well,
No,
the
he's
grub
talking
screw is
about the
inside of the ferrule, which is
It has-
attached to the arrow, which threads into the nutsert.
Yep.
Yeah. Anybody knows what that fitting is?
Text Chuck.
8675-309.
309.
It's 4
All right, fellas.
millimeters.
John, thank you very much. I'm
middle.
going to hit the button. There
My
are
pleasure.
antennas like the ones we modeled, exactly like the ones we modeled, for sale on coffeeandhamradios.com. Get yours before they're out of stock.
Absolutely. Night, everybody.